guys, welcome to my newest video for today. Today's video is going to be my September wrap-up video. I actually had a pretty good reading month over this past month because August, I basically didn't read anything until right at the very end where I finished one book. So I'm just going to include that in the September, what I read in September. But yeah, most of these books were read in September, so and I ended up reading 8 books all up, so it was, it's a pretty good reading month, and I'll just get straight into it. So the first book that I read, which was right at the end of August, I read House of Cards, which is the first book in the Star Trek New Frontier series by Peter David. I've read bits and pieces of this series because I think I've read book 6 and then I read parts of another book that was later on, but I've never read the series in chronological order, and it's something that I want to actually do. So I'm basically reading the early books as I get them, and I decided I was in the mood to start it because they're relatively short books, they're like that. So I was able to get through this relatively quickly, once I sat down and read it, because it's August, I had a couple of major assignments due, and I was trying to finish those, so I didn't get a lot of reading done, but I made up for it this month. But I actually really enjoyed House of Cards because I've been fascinated by the concept of New Frontier because obviously set in the Star Trek universe. We get references to so I think this is around the same time as, I think it's late Next Generation. This is where it's taking place, because I'm not sure if Deep Space Nine is actually set up or it's I'm not 100% sure where it takes place chronologically. I do know it's around Next Generation, because Captain Picard is featured actually in the first book. Well, so is Riker. They're all in the first book. And because it's basically the introduction of the USS Excalibur, and we introduced to Mackenzie Cullen. I think that's how his name is, because he's got I'm not actually sure how his actual name is meant to be read, because it's very similar to Mackenzie, but it's not pronounced that. But we basically, because I actually found the format that the story was told in was quite fascinating, because we basically got say from 10 years ago, we got a flashback from Mackenzie, and we were introduced to his character and the struggles that he had to claim independence from his home world. And we basically got an introduction to his leadership style and how basically he was recruited to Starfleet. And then we flash forwarded, and we got another character introduction, which was Salita, I think, who's the half Vulcan, half Romulan science officer, and it was about her experiences because she was arrested on I can't remember the name of the empire that Psy-Kwon is part of. The Lonelian. Yeah. There we go. So, basically she's arrested for excavating on their planet, and she ends up meeting Spock, and it's basically, and it's also our first introduction to Psy-Kwon, who later becomes a major part in the series. And it's sort of, I thought that introduction was quite fascinating, because we basically established the what the universe was like, and then we've again flash forwarded to the present day, and they're trying to form this the crew, and because they were going on because basically at this point the Thelonian Empire has fallen, and with this there's thousands of refugees who need help, and so they're basically trying to set up a relief mission to go and see what they but without directly interfering in political matters. But I just sort of thought it was the concept, the political intrigue, and that was quite fascinating. And because it's also, and basically what drew me yeah, because basically what drew me to this initial series was Robin Leffler, who is a minor character in a couple of Next Generation episodes, and she also becomes friends with Wesley Crusher. She's introduced into the series. She's not in the first book, but I'm assuming she's like in later books because I think she's the operations officer on Excalibur, if memory serves me. But yeah, it's actually, I think I just remembered. I think House of Cards must be set after season 6 of Next Generation because I can't remember because I think is it Jellicoe? Is it? Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but one of the, yeah, because I think it was during the time that Picard was captured by the Cardassians, and they had a new commanding officer, and no one really got along with him. But yeah, anyway, I'm going, I'm not sure where this is going, but I think, long story short, I really liked the introduction to this series, and I definitely wanted to continue reading it. I do have book 2 because basically where book 1 left, it was a cliffhanger, and I'm like, what? They're leaving it there, and I basically want to continue reading the series. So I will be doing that at some point. But yeah, so House of Cards, I ended up giving a 4 out of 5 stars. Then I finally finished The Eye of the World, which is the first book in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. I've been trying to read this book since March. I mean, it's not a bad book. It's just sort of one of those books you have to actually sit down and read, you know, as like much as you, I guess, not so much just you have to just keep reading to understand what, like, all the different characters and where they're at, and because there's so many different side quests in the series. But I will say that I did actually quite enjoy the book. I thought it did, like, the first book was a great setup. There's a fantastic world building in this, like, in this, like, this particular world. And yeah, and it's just like the whole, I guess, mythical aspect of it has me quite intrigued. I love the characters. And yeah, I'm definitely going to continue with this series because I know, the series was finished, was it Brandon Sanderson? I think he ended up finishing off the series because it's like 14 books, I think. But yeah, but not all of them are by Robert Jordan. But yeah, I'm glad I've actually, like, finally read this book, and yeah, I do want to, as I said, finish the series, and I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. Then we get to one of my favorite new, like, books that I read this past month, and that is Throne of Glass, the first book in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. Yeah. And I absolutely love this book. I get the hype now, like why BookTube seem to love this series, and I have book 2 and book 3, which, because I know book 4 just came out, but yeah, I do want to finish the series because I loved every moment of this book, and I ended up reading like 200 pages in one sitting. That's how much I devoured this book. So I had, like, yeah, that was like the last 200 pages, and I just fled through it. I read it in, like, I think it was a couple of hours, and yeah, I want to finish reading it. I want to see what happens. But yeah, I love the world. Again, it's great. Fantastic world building. I love the characters. Like, the concept. It's, yeah, and it's obviously Selena. Yeah, she's, yeah, definitely, yeah, she's a awesome character, and yeah, she's a kick-ass female who basically yeah, she's, it's sort of hard to describe her because she's, you know, she's, I don't know, she's just awesome. That's basically, and just everything that she's gone through, and yeah, she's and then just, yeah, basically her journey throughout this first book, and her relationship with Dorian, and also with Chal, I'm not entirely sure how you say his name, he's the captain of the guards. I sort of liked that angle, like, you know, how we saw that her react with these different characters, and I honestly don't know which side I'm on in terms of, you know, Team Dorian or Team Chal, because I imagine she's going to end up with one of them at some point. I'm guessing, I don't know, I haven't read the later books, but because I really like both of them. So yeah, honestly, I would be fine if she ended up with either one. I do think I'm leaning slightly towards Prince Dorian, but yeah, as I said, if like these two are like endgame, like one of them's endgame, then I'll be fine with either one. But yeah, I definitely loved Throne of Glass. We'll be reading the rest of the series hopefully soon, and I ended up giving this Throne of Glass a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it that much. Then I read The Last Olympian, which is, of course, the final book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. I have now read all 5 books in the Percy Jackson series, and to be honest, I'm sort of like, when I finished it, I was like, what do I do now? Because, yes, I've still got, you know, like, Heroes of Olympus, I still have the Kane Chronicles, and obviously Rick Riordan's new mythological series, Magnus Chase, which I will be getting to all of those at some point, but yeah, but still, just finishing the Percy Jackson series after having the box set for so long, yeah, I was just like, yeah, just sort of a bit heartbroken at the end, because it's like, I didn't really want to say goodbye to this world, and like, yeah, as I said, yes, there's other parts of this universe, but the main series I didn't want to say goodbye to, because I love Percy Jackson, which I knew I would, but I didn't think I'd love it that much. And considering, basically I ended up giving The Last Olympian 5 out of 5 stars again, because it was just a fantastic read. I think, yeah, one of the best books in the series. I think, I don't know, it's sort of a toss-up between Battle of the Labyrinth, Last Olympian, and the first book, because I think I gave all of those ones 5 out of 5 stars. I mean, Sea of Monsters and Titan's Curse, I think that's the third book, they were okay, but I didn't, like, absolutely love them. But yeah, these 3 books I loved. And yeah, and like The Last Olympian, basically, because, you know, it's obviously the final confrontation between, like, Percy and Luke, and, you know, Olympus is at war with the Titans, and yeah, it's a really fast-paced read, because it's like the action starts, like the actual main battle itself starts like, I think 100 pages in, and it's like a 400-page book. And yeah, it was just sort of, you had to keep reading to find out what's happening, and there are a lot of feels in this book. Yeah, I just loved it. It was yeah, and also right at the end when, like, the gods are all around, and oh, actually, I do want to say one of my favourite bits was Percy sitting on his father's chair to get his father's attention. I loved that part, because, you know, his father's like coming up all like he's all loomy and like tall and nutty. He's about to smite Percy, and he realizes who it is. And yeah, I thought that scene was funny, because he's just like, you know, it's like, you know, I could have when his father's basically saying that was an incredibly dangerous thing to do, but yeah, as I said, a lot of feels. Love this book. Love the Percy Jackson series. Definitely can't wait to read Heroes of Olympus and the rest of Rick Riordan's mythological series, fantasy series. And yeah, as I said, I gave Last Olympian 5 out of 5 stars. Then I finished reading Dune Messiah, which is book 2 in the Dune series. Again, because I absolutely loved the first book, Dune, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars. But, I mean, I thought Dune Messiah was a very worthy sequel, but, man, it was just depressing, I think. Just sort of reading it and then, like, you think, oh yeah, this is going great for this character, and then by the end of it, you're just sort of like, what? Yeah, like, it was very good. The political intrigue was done very well, because that's what I love about this series. It's like the sci-fi setting, but it's, like, very political, and, you know, as I said, I love political intrigue, and this definitely had a lot of political intrigue, and, you know, people plotting against each other, and, yeah, yeah, I was definitely surprised by the ending, because I got there and I was like, that's what? So I have to keep reading the series just to find out what happens with the, well, I guess I can say remaining characters, because, yeah, it definitely wasn't a happy book at all, so, but I ended up giving Dune Messiah a 4 out of 5 stars. Then I finally reread Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by, which I've had sitting in my TBR pile, like currently reading pile, for like 2 years. And I started it, and then I stopped, and then I've started some of it again last year, and then it was like a year had passed since I'd picked it up, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to reread the bits that I'm up to, and then just finish the book. I read the book in, I think it was like 4 days. So I just got completely sucked back into Harry Potter, and I was like, why did it take me so long to finish reading this? It's like, I just loved, I mean, Philosopher's Stone is not my favourite of the books, but I still, you know, just sort of reading it, and I guess it's much more lighthearted than, you know, considering knowing how dark the series progresses. It's just sort of going back to when they're also young and innocent, and seeing them start their journey for the first time, and just, yeah, being reintroduced to this world was just, yeah, such, yeah, just a fun experience. And I will eventually go through the other books, because I haven't honestly touched, you know, read a Harry Potter book since Deathly Hallows came out, which is really bad of me, I know, but I finally did reread Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, though, so, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Then we get to possibly my favourite book that I read in the past month, and that was The Martian by Andy Weir. Now, I wasn't planning on reading the book. I was going to go watch the movie, which I have actually seen, and which I thought was very good, but I'll talk about that in my weekly reviews, because, yeah, I was intrigued by the trailer, and basically all the buzz that I'd heard about this book was, yeah, it just made me excited to finally read it, because I've had it for a while, like a couple of months, I think. But yeah, I was just like, I need to read this book. I started reading it, I could not put it down, and I read it in like 3 days. That was kind of a bit crazy, but it was just that good. It's just so funny, and because you think based on the subject matter it would be like really depressing, but Mark Watney, the protagonist, he's like just one of the most I guess optimistic people, like, or optimistic character, maybe that's a better word, you'll ever come across, because it's like he's just so sarcastic, and just, yeah, what he's like, yeah, I just love his, like, narration, and, yeah, everything about it, and I just loved it. It was, I can't sum into words just how much I love this book. It's definitely one of my favourite books that I've read this past year, definitely, I think one of my favourite books of all time. I loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. Yeah. And then the last book that I read for the month of September was The Murder on the Links, which is the second Poirot book by Agatha Christie, of course. And again, I just had such a fun time reading this series. It's like kind of like with when I read Mysterious Affair at Styles at the start of the year. It's such a fun, like, you sort of read it and then you're trying to work it out for yourself, like, you know, who's responsible for the murders, and then you sort of think it's going one way and then it just completely turns it on its head. And yeah, it's just a fun read. And yeah, I love Poirot's character. It's yeah, I definitely need to watch the series with David Suchet. Yeah, I can never pronounce his name. It's on Netflix. I know, I just need to sit down and start watching it because I'm like just watching so many stuff at the moment. But yeah, I'm just having such a fun time with the series, and it's like obviously there's heaps in the Poirot, like there's heaps of Poirot books, and what I sort of like about them though is basically like with the character of Captain Hastings, he's basically like the audience's like, I guess he's like he's, I don't know how to really word it, but he's basically like the audience. He's trying to figure it out as well. Like when Poirot goes off on his little quests and he's sort of like, I don't know what he's doing. And then he sort of comes up with an idea once he sort of gets parts of the facts, and he comes up with his whimsical story that is like, he sort of, there's like maybe a couple of elements of truth, but it's just like this far-fetched story. And then, but as the audience, you're sort of starting to think, oh, maybe it's like this. And then it starts to be like, because I think one of the theories I had in this book was almost identical to Captain Hastings' theory, which, yeah, I don't know if that's meant to be deliberate or that, but it's, yeah, this series is just a lot of fun. And yeah, I definitely liked Murder on the Links as well. And yeah, again, I want to finish reading all the Poirot books, and I will eventually watch the TV show. And I ended up giving The Murder on the Links a 4 out of 5 stars. So that is everything that I read in the past month. Hopefully October will be as good a reading month as September, because I do have my law exam in about a week. It's on the 12th, so yeah, I don't know how much reading I'll actually get done in the first little bit, but then after that I've got like 2 weeks off, so before my next trimester starts. But yeah, because I actually also this month past month I ended up finishing my reading 50 books for the year, which was my goal, and I upped it to 75, which I don't know if I'll end up making. So I've got to still read like 20 odd books in like 3 months. So it might be a bit of an ask to do, but I'll see how I go. But yeah, I sort of, once I completed it, I was like, yeah, I want to challenge myself further. So I decided to do it to 75. I may have been too ambitious with that goal, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, so that's it for this video. So thank you guys for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!